Tout le monde, hello ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else watching. Thank you for tuning in to Dave Listens to Hi-Fi. So, last weekend I went to the Montreal Audio Fest, the Salon de Montreal 2023, and I had a great time. Now, I've been going to this show for many years, but this was the first time I really brought a camera and kind of documented everything that I was hearing, and so I could share my opinions with you. So this is basically what I heard on that day from that particular equipment. Audio shows can be great to show kind of the potential of equipment, but if gear sounds good or if it sounds bad, doesn't mean that the gear is bad. If it sounds good, doesn't mean it always sounds good in every setup. So a case in point, Bryston. So a couple of years back I heard the big Bryston Model T speakers at that show in Montreal, and they sounded wonderful. I mean, some of the best sound that I heard at the show. I was really sold on those speakers. This year I went to the Bryston room, and I didn't like the way it sounded. I think they were using the next size down, or no, it was a new speaker from them. But I know I've heard Bryston amps sound great, and I've heard other Bryston equipment sound great, but the room, the particular setup, the music, I don't know, something they were doing at the show when I went in didn't sound great. Doesn't mean Bryston gear isn't good, just means that product at that show on that day didn't work out. So, with that caveat, here's my opinion of what I saw at the show, Montreal Audio Fest 2023. So the first room I visited was the DALI and NAD room. They were showing the DALI Core speakers, their new kind of $150,000 flagship speaker. Very impressive, huge scale, very transparent, deep bass. Bass was maybe a little bit flabby. I'm not sure if the NAD Masters amp and streamer were letting it down, but it was also very loud, a little bright. They were pushing a lot of volume into that room. It wasn't an ideal setup. It was more just kind of showing them off rather than showing what they could do. After that, there was the B&W 801 D4s. These had incredible bass, but then I did notice there were two very large subwoofers on either side of them. But these sounded really nice. There was a beautiful tone, really controlled top end, powered by a pair of Class A monoblocks. One thing I did notice about the sound, it was kind of flat. It was just music in one plane. There wasn't a lot of depth. The width of the soundstage was all right, but there just wasn't a lot of depth. I'm not sure if it was room set up again or not, but yeah, beautiful tone. The next room after that was the Gershman, powered by Eon Art. The Gershman was the Studio XDB new speakers, turntable by Oracle, and a phono stage there. So the Eon Art amps are, I believe they're made in Quebec. They're a integrated amp, but a single channel. So it's a one channel tube preamp with a Class D power amp inside, very sophisticated, a lot of very high-tech, very nice, very high quality components, very expensive as well. But they were driving these new Gershman speakers to impressive sound. The Gershman speakers, the stand was integrated as part of the enclosure, so the bass out of these was very impressive, and I think my vote goes to best sound of the show for this room, both with these and the other set of Gershman speakers I heard on the following day. This was kind of the system that gave the impression of the venue. You know, the soundstage extended beyond the walls of the listening room. I visited the Cora room, the stone speakers from Cora, driven by VAC Electronics. Those stone cabinets, they like the really inert cabinets. There's something to that because there's a certain transparency and a certain kind of immediacy and transience that come from those solid cabinets. It's very impressive. That had a really nice wide soundstage, VAC Master Pre and Phono Master 300 power amp. It was struggling a little bit to fill the room with a deep bass, but what I heard was pretty impressive. Nice soundstage. I visited the PS Audio room. They were showing off the new FR20 speakers. They had a great presentation. They did a really commendable job of disappearing from the soundstage. Nice depth and soundstage width, really nice transients. But I found that
mid-range, a bit peaky. The bass was kind of lacking. It was weird because I heard the FR30s in this room last year, the bigger brother of these speakers, and it was among the best sound of the show. But this year the FR20s kind of fell flat. The MoFi SourcePoint 10 was the new dual concentric speaker designed by Andrew Jones. Heard these powered by Hi-Fi Rose amp and streamer. Very nice top end, very clear, coherent sound. They were a bit of a lower mid-bass hump I noticed in that room. They were playing it very loud, and it's a very big room they're trying to fill up, so it kind of constrained the dynamics a bit. Rectilinear speakers driven by Thoros. So Thoros is a integrated amp from Germany. It's a hybrid triode MOSFET amplifier, Class A, about 20 watts, powered by wired up by Luna cables. This had an amazing, smooth, spacious, relaxing sound. Those speakers are vintage, kind of redone by one of the Luna cable guys, and this had some of the nicest, smoothest, easiest to listen to sounds in the room. The Angela Gilbert Young room, this was the same designer behind Blue Circle Components, had a new line of separates here. This preamp had kind of 3 gain stages. There was like a warm knob, a solid state, and a tube sounding knob, and you could mix those sounds in, infinitely variable one to the other. The power amps were very nice. They had this external capacitor banks that you could add in. You could also connect the power supplies from one component to the other. All this sounds kind of cheesy, but let me tell you, it had really some of the most real sounding voices I heard at the show. Very illuminated top end, impact resolution. I was very impressed with those stuff. It sounded great. I heard the coherent audio, Model 18, the big drivers with the coax drivers driven by Alanek, and a beautiful Kuzma table and that gorgeous arm. The sound was natural, full, but the soundstage kind of stuck to the speakers. It didn't spread across as much as I would have hoped it to be. I heard these Stenheim loudspeakers. That's I think they're Swiss. They use an aluminum cabinet, the Alumin 3, and something about those really rigid cabinets, like the stone and aluminum cabinets, I really am beginning to like. They have a really nice precision and natural full sound. Driven by the Dart Zeal components. This is beautiful. It had some of the best sound in the room. It was a little forward sounding, but really nice. Artist Cloner is another Canadian manufacturer. These speakers were very thick, very rigid. They had a stone kind of veneer covering. It was a really incredible bass impact on that, almost too much for the room. The amps and preamps were very nicely designed, kind of out of the box thinking on the casing. They had kind of on the side, they had some Class D stuff that was really intriguing. I'd like to get some of that in. This guy designs components and systems for people, so I want to dive into the Artist Cloner brand a bit more. Then I heard the Name and Fine Audio room. I have never traditionally been a big fan of Name. In fact, this new streamer preamp, the NSC 222, to me that gets the Ugly Duckling Award. I mean, that was the to me it was the ugliest component at the show. I really didn't like it, but you know, it's all subjective because my brother really liked it. So I've never really traditionally been a fan of Name. I found them kind of maybe overhyped or boring or something, but the sound in this room, it was natural and musical, and I mean, it just made you want to sit and listen. It was powerful, and it really made me reconsider Name, because if it's capable of producing the sound that I heard in that room, it's really something special, I gotta say. The Wilson Alexia 5s, driven by Nagra components. I mean, this was tons of money, and I would have expected it to sound great, and it actually did. I mean, this was playing some Heart Pepper music, and I mean, on open reel, on vinyl, it sounded so natural and big and wide, and exactly as you would expect it to sound. It sounded like that. There was a nice new set of panel speakers by Phonica, Italian brand, with it's kind of like dual membranes with magnets in between, and that kind of flip of the planar magnetic design really gave a lot of impact and really nice deep bass. Kind of seemed to be missing a bit of mid bass. Maybe the speakers could have been closer together for that. The soundstage was nice, but kind of stayed within the speakers. But definitely potential. Really nice there. Then I saw these French panel speakers from a company called Diptyque, the DP160s, kind of a 2.5-way speaker design. The crossovers were just incredible. This is kind of an upgrade. You can get the signature version with those upgraded crossovers, and those win crossover of the show to me. They were just gorgeous. I mean, you see the giant capacitors and the construction on those. It was just incredible. I was asked when I thought of this, and to me, they were the best headphones of the show, because when you sit right in the sweet spot, right in the center, it sounds like you're wearing headphones. It was like very directional the way they were towed in. I don't know. It was a very specific, very small sweet spot, very detailed sound at that center. But anytime you move off axis a little bit, it didn't do so well. But man, those crossovers, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Decent bass out of them too. I like that. Then I would visit the Tri-Art room. With the open baffle speakers and all the bamboo they use there. These speakers have the most natural bass I heard at the show. I just love listening to jazz on these speakers. They have a nice wide open presentation, great dynamics. They kind of present similar to my Carver speakers in terms of the sound stage and the presentation and the bass. I really like that sound. And the bamboo turntables and tone arms, very intriguing to me. I love the design. I love the out-of-the-box thinking, and I'd love to get something in here to listen to it, because those speakers and those turntables especially really intrigue me. Again, the sound in this room was open, natural, full range, full extended top to bottom. They're definitely onto something with their designs here, and the craftsmanship is very, very nice. I mean, I've seen some reviews online. They said they don't like it, but it's really well made. Then the Heaven 11 Bucart room had a really nice, deep, wide soundstage, lots of detail. The bass on the Bucarts is always impressive, but to me sometimes it sounds like they're trying too hard, if you can figure out what I'm saying. The amps, the Heaven 11 amps, nice and powerful, maybe a little bit dry, but I mean, when you talk about straight wire with gain, that seems to embody what these are doing. They're very clear, very open, very uncolored sound. I imagine you can roll the tubes a bit and get a little bit different sound if you like. So I like that flexibility. Good power, very clear, very wide and open and dynamic, and a great price too. I visited the Moon room, Seam Audio, and I heard the Voice 22, their new speaker. I had to check for their subwoofers, because the bass out of those things, they were playing trip hop. They had those, heard Morchiba there, some of the best music I heard at the show. I really like the 90s trip hop. They were very, very impressive after I found out they were $4,000 for those tiny speakers, so that made more of sense, but a wonderful presentation. I mean, you could definitely live with just those speakers in a room. Next I visited the Audio Note UK room. They actually had two rooms. They had the small system and they had the expensive one on the other side. I found the small system to be almost more impressive, because, I mean, for $200,000 you can make beautiful music, but here they were doing it with like a $5,000 integrated, and the speakers are about $10K with that finish. But the sound was really nice, uncolored, great dynamics. Wasn't full range, but very satisfying. Seemed to provide a soundstage that really pushed back the room walls, which is what I really liked about this small system. Very, very musical and easy to listen to, and understated looks. Very simple, but very classy. I find that this stuff is very classy. The following room was Java Hifi, which is a company out of New Zealand, and this is a GAN-FET Class D integrated, and I found it was some of the... It gets my vote as the most beautiful component of the show. I just love the way they've done it. It's a lacquered wood cabinet, the way they integrated those heat sinks on the side. The feel of the knobs, the big knobs with the lights that follow the rotation of the knob around, they were just the most beautiful component of the show. I congratulate them for that. Definitely a gorgeous, gorgeous piece. Had nice speakers, the new Aperion speakers. It was dynamic, punchy, really nice depth. They kind of saddled it with, they were just playing Bluetooth, so I don't think I was hearing everything it could do, but very nice. Good potential. So the next speakers I heard were the PSI. These were the Swiss monitor speakers, powered speakers being played back with the SPL Diamond DAC. These speakers really sounded like a tool. I mean, they were transparent and detailed, amazing soundstage, not forgiving at all. They really showed what was in the recording. Amazing tools for mixing and mastering. Wouldn't necessarily be my first choice for a hi-fi setup, but if you really like hearing deep into the recordings, those speakers might be good for you. So basically that's what I saw, that's what I heard, that's what I thought about it. Thank you for watching. If you like what I do, please subscribe, hit the like button. It would be great if you could join me on Patreon. On Patreon I'm putting some sound samples, some other content, and anyone who joins Patreon helps me to get more equipment. I'm going to go and buy some more stuff that I can review, interesting things. Leave me a comment, let me know if you're at the show, and let me know what you thought about any of the equipment I reviewed. Thanks again for watching. Take care, we'll see you next time.